Hello, everyone. Welcome to our lecture on the human diet and sustainability. The learning outcomes for this lecture is to understand food calorie requirements and cellular respiration, the energy requirements in the human body, what's the science behind some of the most popular diets, what are some of the current issues in our food system, and the climate change effect on our food system. Anytime people talk about diet, the first thing that comes into mind is a calorie. A calorie is a unit of energy. In physics, it is defined as the amount of energy or heat that is required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. The calories that we see in food packages are actually kilocalories. And different foods have different calorie value. Carbs, a gram of carbs is equivalent to 4 kilocalories. Same with proteins. Whereas a gram of fat can give 9 kilocalories of energy. So keeping this in mind, there are nutrient-dense foods that will give nourishment like macronutrients, micro, phytochemicals, vitamins, and minerals. And on the other hand, there's calorie-dense foods that gives quick energy, but it's very high in calories. It has added preservatives and sugars and saturated fat that can clog arteries. So these are bad for you in the long run. The reason as to why you and I eat, why does hunger drive us? It is all for energy. So cellular respiration is the process that happens in every cell in our body where food is broken down to produce energy in the presence of oxygen. So here you can see this equation. It's a redox equation where in the presence of oxygen, glucose is broken down to produce carbon dioxide that you exhale, and water and ATP. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate, which is the energy currency in the cell. And this picture here shows like peanuts has all carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. It doesn't matter what macromolecule you consume, it is going to enter the cellular respiration pathway. Glycolysis will happen in the cytoplasm of a cell. Citric acid cycle and electron transport chain will happen in the mitochondrial matrix, and this is in the mitochondrial membrane. So through a series of steps, food is broken down to make energy, and carbohydrates enter the pathway here right in the beginning. Fats will enter here in this step, and proteins can enter in a different step in the citric acid pathway. How is the energy spent? Where do we use our energy? So that is called total daily energy expenditure. It refers to all the calories that you burn in a day. You need energy for basic metabolic rate. So this is the calories that your body requires for staying alive, like breathing, digestion, your heart rate. You need energy for the physical activity throughout the day. You need energy for non-exercise activity, thermogenesis in the day. You also need energy to break down the food itself. So the basic metabolic rate is influenced by several factors. It's different for men and women. It depends on age, genetics, lifestyle. Usually men require about 2,500 to 3,000 calories a day. Again, this is only an approximation. women about 2,000 calories a day. Body mass index is a widely used measure of the ideal weight. So it's a measure of body fat depending on your height and weight, and it's called body mass index weight. So by charting the weight against the height, they come up with these numbers. For normal, the BMI index is 18 to 25. But this is not very accurate because it doesn't take into account your muscle mass. There are other indicators of health like body fat percentage, weight circumference, or health markers like your blood pressure, your cholesterol, your blood sugar levels. Using the BMI, they have calculated the obesity index of the world. There's this very direct correlation between obesity and health. So the table on the left is showing the correlation between heart diseases and stroke. And the map is showing the obesity rate in the world, which is kind of alarming because it is increasing. Obesity rate in USA, currently data shows about 40 to 42% of the adult population are obese. So this obesity in turn will put a pressure on the healthcare system of the country. So it has a cascading detrimental effects. And also by consuming more resources, it puts a pressure on the environment also. Here's a fun diagram that shows the evolution of the diet. Everybody wants to be at their optimal weight. And here it says, here in the map, it says 1976, the correlation between diet and diabetes is discovered. And here you can see Weight Watchers diet. It's like many of the diets are promoted by celebrities. But how do they work? Like crash diets, even though we lose a lot of weight, this is not sustainable in the long run, and it can actually harm your body. Here's some popular diets and how they work. So all these diets, they do work to a certain degree because of the calorie deficit. When the calories that go in your body is equal to the calorie burned, it's a balanced diet. There's no weight gain. Whereas if more calories are consumed than the calories that are burned, then you gain weight. Whereas if you eat less calories than the calorie burnt, you lose weight. So there is no magic pill for weight loss. This is the science behind it. Many of the diets like Weight Watchers diet, it's about calorie counting. And now intermittent fasting is very popular. Keto diets, and there's Atkins diet where they eat just proteins and they leave out like food groups. How sustainable is this? It depends on the person, I guess. And this is the science is depicted on the right here. Regarding food, these are two terms that are constantly in the news: food security and food equity. When you say food security, it refers to the availability and the accessibility of safe and nutritious food to meet the daily dietary requirements to sustain a healthy life. And food equity, on the other hand, refers to fair and just distribution of food and resources to all individuals, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, income, and geographic location. These two are basic human rights, but sadly, you don't see it. There's a lot of food security and inequity in the world, especially, where for middle income families and poor families, they don't have they are like living on poverty line. They can only have access to unhealthy processed foods. And here's a graph that is talking about food insecurity in USA. There's another table that depicts food insecurity in the USA. 14% of all US households are food insecure. 49.1 million people live with food insecurity. It's a very sad statistic. So what is it about our food practices and our eating habits that affects the environment adversely? So the current food system is dominated by deforestation for agriculture. When we cut down forest for agriculture and raising animals, it's very bad for the earth. And it is accompanied with a lot of greenhouse gas emissions. Extensive use of water, soil degradation, biodiversity loss. The most green gas emissions, if you see across the food chain, you can see is agriculture and farming, and it's all connected to eating beef, lamb, and dairy products. So by reducing this in the diet, we might see a lot of reduction in greenhouse gases. Here's another statistics as to what's wrong with the current food system. It says 1 in 7 people in the world go hungry. That is more than 1 billion people. So this is not because there isn't food, but because there is this uneven distribution of food. There's obesity on one end and hunger on the other end. So this clearly shows that even though we produce a lot of food, there's a lot of food that is wasted in the farms at the consumer level. And climate change is making this disparity even worse. So with climate change, the crop yield is threatened. There's water shortages in one part of the world, flooding in another part of the world. This unpredictable weather conditions, pests and diseases have increased, food quality has dropped, food security has increased. So the thing is, the whole world has to come together to think about resilience in our food systems, come together to reduce greenhouse emissions in agriculture and food production, and to adopt sustainable food practices. And here's some tips that you can read about how we can address this. So the main summary or takeaway from this lecture is that our current food habits and food systems face many, many challenges as obesity and hunger. So this is driving the need for sustainable food systems that can ensure food security, food equity, nutritious diet, and reduced food waste. The sustainability in the food system requires a holistic approach that will consider the economic development, social, and environmental aspects of food production, distribution, and consumption. And this can be achieved by increased measures to reduce food loss, promoting a healthy diet, reducing meat consumption, and increasing access to nutritious food, and creating awareness and promoting sustainable eating habits. And I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope it was useful.